Hello ATF team, Dr. J here bringing you another ATF Breakout. I hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving and are excited to get started on this, what is the cycle 2 of your program, and specifically week 5. I promised you all that we would start a little bit different focus, and you should see that in your FFPs. I have a little bit of a disclaimer with this week. It may take a little bit more time. You're going to see that there's probably been the addition of at least 2 to 3 more exercises to your list, but what we're hoping is that you're getting really comfortable with the ball rolling, the stick rolling, and the static stretching, and hopefully you're getting a lot more efficient with that time. Possibly don't even have to watch the videos. But again, what you're really going to see here is we have a lot more focus on stabilization. Specifically, we're working on the core and on the shoulder girdle. These are areas or problematic areas for many of you, if you may remember from the double leg lowering, where you all sat there on the table if you were involved in the ATF screening, and I had that blood pressure cuff underneath your lumbar spine. Many of you had challenges with stabilizing your core while engaging in functional movement, which in this case was lowering your legs. So that's what we're trying to do. Again, we're trying to really train from the inside out, from that mobility aspect, creating that foundation. Now we start working up from the inside out. This is very much a developmental sequence. What many of you may think of, if you think about a baby and how they progress from on their backs to on their face, and then they get into that position where they push up into a plank type modified push-up type position, and then from there they're on all fours and they kneel, then they stand. You're going to see this sequence as we go through, and it seems kind of silly, but we have to really go back to our roots, and that's what we're doing here. It seems very simplistic, but it's actually very important to our developmental sequence, and in this case we're kind of regressing or starting all over or rebooting that system. And what you're seeing here is that many of you have to start that part of our progression over again. We've had that as we've gotten older, as we get into the situation where our prime movers, our gross motor movers are very, very strong. They've learned how to dominate and overtake the stabilizing muscles, and we've actually worked ourselves in a situation with that lack of mobility and that really strong gross motor movers where we've locked ourselves into dysfunction. We've lost this ability to stabilize. And so that's what we're focusing on here, is reestablishing that ability to stabilize the spine, the hips, and specifically any musculature that's connected to the spine and hips. And that's why you see the integration of the Indian clubs. One thing I want to point out with those of you that do not have the Indian clubs, that is okay. You can still do the same exercises, but what we really want to focus on is that you have a stiff wrist with an open palm. And we're trying to get a lot of that motion from our actual shoulder blade and how that articulates or how that moves with our thorax, or basically our upper and posterior rib cage. And we're trying to work on that motion. A lot of you had that U1 posture, so what that means is that shoulder blade is actually starting to slide forward, and with that you start to deal with a lot more issues with the anterior shoulder and with the bicep, like biceps tendonitis, rotator cuff tendonitis, possibly even labral tears or rotator cuff tears. And so what we're trying to do is re-establish that joint. And so even though it seems like it's dynamic movement, it's really rhythmic stabilization with the Indian clubs. So that's why you're starting to see those in there. And when you do it, really focus on what you're doing with that shoulder blade and how it's sliding and gliding across the upper back. So we hope you have a good time this week. We hope that you enjoy the little bit of variety here. Remember, our key is to focus on doing it right. It's not about necessarily how many you do, it's about doing it right. What we would encourage you, especially for those of you that have been doing a lot of the ball rolling, I know some of you even expressed that some of it is a little bit of a challenge staying on the ball, and that's good because it's challenging you, and that's part of the stability aspect too. So as you ball roll, what I really want you to focus on is that progression. And what I mean by that is, if you remember, the more contact points that you have, the easier it is to maintain stability on the ball. So this week what I want you to do is try, if you can, to decrease at least one contact point. So this will actually increase the intensity or how difficult that particular movement is, and now we're able to integrate some of those inhibition movements with actually core stability type things. So with that, again, even if you can get a neutral spine or draw in and get those hips neutral and that back flat as you do the exercises, we're really starting to integrate. You'll hear us talk about this a lot, about combo. Can we combination things? Can we be efficient with our time by combining 2 goal or targets in one exercise. And we're going to try to do that a lot. That allows us to be really efficient with our time, condense that time, because we know that your time is valuable. Whether it's at work or it's with your family, we know you need it, and that's why the ATF designs its programs to specifically fit in those tight windows. And remember, we hope that you have fun with this. If you have any questions, you can always contact us. Remember, you can contact us at academytofunction@gmail.com, or again, you can find that on our website at www.academytofunction.com. Get in contact with us. We'll answer the questions the best we can and as promptly as we can. We're hoping you're enjoying this time. And remember, the Academy to Function is here to help you function better in your world.